Good morning. This is Adam Wise at Andor, application scientist in the US. And this morning I'm going to show you how to get started with Micromanager and an EMCCD, specifically an Ixon, although this will work with any other CCD or EMCCD that we make. So I'm going to go to the Micromanager site and download Micromanager. Just going to let that load. There are two different versions, and I don't believe for our purposes in this camera it matters which we choose. They have slightly different features as far as I understand it, and I can choose Micromanager 1.4 or 2.0. Let's pick Micromanager 1.4, the 64-bit version for my computer. We're going to download that real quick. And then once that's downloaded, we're going to install it. And I may or may not cut out the intervals in between here depending on how long it takes. I'm going to put in my credentials. You probably won't have to do that. And I'm going to go to the setup wizard. And I should be able to install as many versions of this software as I like, as long as I put it somewhere with a different file name. So I'll just call this one demo. And I'll create a desktop icon. It's all good. So if you're not familiar with Micromanager, I'm probably only a little more familiar with it than you are. So I believe it's based on the Java image processing program whose name escapes me at the moment. But it will become obvious when I open it up again. And it's a freeware / open source or free / open source microscopy application, and can also be used for controlling our cameras. So I'm going to launch Micromanager 1.4. Oh, ImageJ. That's what I'm describing. That's the it's a fantastic program. So it's going to ask me what configuration I should use. That's the hardware information about all the things that are attached to my computer. So I'm going to choose none for now because I'm going to make one. And I'm going to go to, I believe it's Tools, Hardware Configuration Wizard. And I'm going to create a new configuration. I'm going to pick Andor here. And you can see it says generic camera adapter. I believe that's fine for any CCD or EMCCD camera that we have. The instructions are a bit more involved for an SDK3 or SCMOS camera. And I'll probably record a separate video for that. So let's add that. I have the Ixon Life powered on and attached already. Just going to leave it, and you can actually see it sees it okay. And I'm going to go next. I don't have any shutters or other microscopy equipment attached right now, so I'm not going to add anything else. I don't have any other devices to add. And it's going to ask me where I should save the configuration. And I'll save that just to, I think, somewhere on my desktop. So that should really be all there is to it. If I snap a picture now, I'm getting static from the camera. And you can see if I go to live view, it's going to pull frames down. Let me turn on the light source that I have attached to it. There we go. So you can see I'm getting images back from this camera. That was pretty easy. and I'm going to show you how to actually change the acquisition parameters. So I'm going to look at the device property browser, and now I can see all of the acquisition settings that I could change. And when I modify these, I can then save it to different macros. But just so you can see, everything that you can do with the cameras is accessible. You can see it's still cooling down. We have the CCD temperature indicator, the CCD temperature set point. I can probably make that a bit bigger so you can see some of these longer strings. That's better. And you can see the exposure time in milliseconds, the EM gain over here. I can change around crop mode. It's a little bit intimidating, I think, for some compared to the relatively simple Solace acquisition settings, because it gives you the options for everything in one burst. And I can hide the read-only properties to make that a little easier. So these are just kind of the indicators. They're in gray. That means that you can't change them. They're just showing you about something. So you can see, just as an example, if I change the exposure time right now, if I snap, it's a 10 millisecond exposure. And you can see the total cycle time is about 35 milliseconds. So that includes the exposure, the shift, and then the readout, or the shift during the readout, so the whole readout process. And if I change that to 100 milliseconds, now it's going to say 100 milliseconds for exposure and then 25 milliseconds of overhead for readout. Snap that again, and you can see my signal becomes, my image becomes quite a bit clearer. So that's all you have to do to get started with Micromanager, just to show you how to get the camera connected. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email at a.wise@andor.com. And otherwise, have a good rest of your week or day, depending on when you watch this. Thanks. Bye.